Ever buy a house just to find out your real enemy wasn't termites, but the lady next door with a clipboard and a god complex? Yeah, that's my story. And if you're still watching, buckle up, because when I say homeowners association, you should hear boss music. Let me set the scene. Early spring in Texas, which means the weather's drunk and can't pick a season. I'm standing there, eyeing this rundown place at the edge of a quiet suburb. The old house is sunburned and sagging, but it's got those two ancient pecan trees out front, holding it like grandparents with bad backs but too much love to quit. It's not much, I'll give you that. Porches bowing, paint flaking like bad sunburn, shutters hanging on for dear life, like every bad metaphor for seeing better days. But what I saw, standing in that wild grass, was possibility. Architect's disease, I guess. I see what things could be, not just what they are. Now, I didn't buy this place to flip it or brag about on Instagram. I've been living next door for 6 years already, in an old guest house I'd converted into a studio, my own little slice of leave me alone. I liked it that way, especially since, here's the twist, my property never was and never would be under HOA control. Built decades before the beige wave of suburbia rolled through. So while my neighbors played house under Karen's iron rule, I was the barnacle on their luxury cruise ship, the lone rebel with peeling paint and wildflowers. The man selling, Mr. Howell, late 80s, always in flannel no matter how hot it got, just wanted out. His kids were hounding him to move closer to Dallas, somewhere with less yard and more nurses. We shook hands, old school, like you do when you still trust people. Right as we're stepping off the porch, here comes trouble in a gleaming silver SUV. You ever see someone's teeth and think, no way those are real? That's her, Karen, queen of the HOA. Clipboard in one hand, fake concern in the other. She didn't bother to look at me, just called out, "Mr. Howell, can I have a word?" Poor guy shrunk 2 inches right there. He muttered, "Now's not a great time, Karen." Like saying, not now, ever stopped her. She gets out, all heels and press slacks, power walking like the sidewalk owes a rent. "I've heard you're selling. I hope that's just a rumor." He shrugs. "It's not. I'm done." Then, finally, she looks at me, like I'm a water stain on her marble countertop. "And who are you?" I smiled, offered a handshake. She left it hanging like last week's laundry. Neighbor, architect, buyer. Her smile could have frosted glass. She launches into this speech, community standards, property values, harmony, the whole HOA gospel. I cut her off. "House isn't under HOA, Karen. Never was. Check your maps." She tightens her grip on that clipboard. If looks could cite violations, I'd already owe $100. "Maybe not, but you're adjacent. That carries responsibilities." "To who?" I ask. "The neighborhood's character." I swear I almost laughed. "Character doesn't come from matching mailboxes, ma'am." After she stomped off, Mr. Howell apologized. Said she'd been pestering him for months, wanted her nephew to buy it, so the HOA could snatch it up. Yeah, no thanks. Within days, my realtor calls, all nervous. Karen's been calling offices, warning about community integrity and legal complications. Not outright threats, just the kind of whispers that make paperwork take twice as long. That's how they work, these HOA types. Never a frontal attack. Just little fires, quiet sabotage. Like termites, you don't know you're losing until something collapses. After I signed the purchase agreement, things got weird. People who used to wave now looked the other way. That retiree with the hedge trimmers wouldn't even make eye contact. Then the blog post. Someone emailed me a link, local lifestyle blog, usually all recipes and lost dogs. Headline, "Is there a hidden environmental hazard in our neighborhood?" The concerned eco-journalist warns about unreported geological shifts at the edge of the subdivision, my property, of course. Vague warnings, no facts, mentions a private engineering assessment allegedly commissioned by concerned residents. Total fiction, but fear travels fast. Within 2 days, the post was all over Facebook, email chains, even flyers on windshields. And, shocker, Karen shared it with safety first before development. If I could have punched a blog, I would have. So I start digging. This Paul Garrett, eco-journalist, is a fake. Stock photo for his profile, Website registered to a shell company. Took me 3 calls to engineering firms before a junior tech spilled. The only soil report was ordered by K West Community Services, LLC, Karen's pet company. She'd faked the whole scare. Now, if you've never dealt with suburban politics, let me explain. Karen's move was genius, in a snake-in-the-grass kind of way. Whisper about danger, let everyone else panic, and you never look like the bad guy. But I'm stubborn. I hire a real geotech crew. Core samples, seismic tests, the whole 9 yards. Their report, rock solid. No instability. Safer than most of the houses with approved permits. I didn't just keep the report. I went nuclear, posted on every forum, mailed copies to the HOA, stuck pages up at the clubhouse. Since we're sharing soil reports, here's one from an actual scientist. Karen deleted her post. The blog vanished, but the stink lingered. People whispered at the coffee shop. Joggers asked if I was worried about the ecosystem. Fixing a porch became an ecological crisis. That's how you know it's not about rules. It's about making you the outsider. So, I played her game. Only I did it in daylight. Documented everything. When 2 guys in a white van showed up one morning, claiming to be HOA cleanup, I smelled a setup. They were hauling out old junk from behind my shed. Stuff that hadn't moved in decades. I stopped them. Who sent you? They hesitated. Just following work orders, sir. I snapped photos of their paperwork. No letterhead, just a scribbled K. West at the bottom. Told them to put it all back, or I'd call the cops. Sure enough, the next day, I get a certified letter from the HOA, accusing me of unauthorized demolition and improper disposal of landscape materials, with photos of my half-taken-apart fence, snapped while those goons were trespassing. A setup plain and simple. But I had the receipts. Photos, timestamps, security footage, sent it all to my lawyer, who fired off a formal complaint and copied the police. HOA's reply? They'd investigate internally. Yeah, right? Fox, meet henhouse. But it rattled them. Suddenly, Karen stopped her little dog-walking patrols past my place. The Facebook group went quiet. But I knew this wasn't over. Karen doesn't lose, she regroups. Next, she sends me an invitation, not membership, but a community-aligned property partnership. Sounds friendly, but the fine print would have given the HOA jurisdiction over my land. My lawyer caught it immediately, so we wrote a counter-agreement, a legal dead man's switch. If the HOA ever filed a complaint or tried to enforce anything, the agreement was null and void. Plus, they had to acknowledge on record that my property was outside their jurisdiction. Karen took the bait, signed it. 3 days later, she files a violation. Fence color inconsistency. Demanded I repaint my gate taupe. I took the letter and the contract to court. The judge barely kept a straight face. Ruled for me. HOA had no standing. The contract was severed by their own action, and my property was legally out of reach. The ruling went public. Suddenly, people started asking questions, loudly. Brad, a board member who always looked like he was reliving his high school football days, started liking my posts. Then he DM'd me. Let's talk. That was the twist I didn't see coming. Turns out, Brad hated Karen more than I did. Said the board had pushed through beautification grants for years, all to the same shady landscaping companies. No real addresses, suspiciously close to Karen's maiden name. He sent me stacks of PDFs, invoices, logs, everything just under the audit threshold. Classic laundering. Thousands out the door, always to future green landscaping, owned by Karen's nephew. I hired a forensic accountant. Within weeks, they found $72,000 funneled to shell companies for work that never happened. $4,000 for irrigation in a park without water, $3,000 for pruning trees that never got pruned. I didn't just give it to my lawyer. I sent it to the city ethics board, the state AG, and every reporter within 100 miles. That's when the walls came down. Formal inquiry, audit, subpoenas. Board members resigned. One for health reasons, another family relocation. Karen, ever the victim, posts a whiny note. A personal vendetta has become a witch hunt. The comments roasted her alive. People wanted to know why their fees bought invisible mulch. One woman posted a picture of her kid's splintered swing, captioned, "This is what my dues paid for. Blood in the water." The board suspended Karen. HOA meetings turned from threats to desperate damage control. She didn't disappear, though. Not Karen. She went full martyr, organizing a community integrity rally at the gazebo, still on HOA property, mind you. Brad recorded it for me. Karen, all in white, preaching about outsiders and shared values. Never named me, but you'd have to be dumber than a box of mulch not to get the message. People started leaving trash on my lawn. Someone zip-tied a sign to my mailbox. "If you hate rules, move to the woods." The old lady who used to bake me banana bread started ignoring me. The whispers came back. But this time, I didn't just wait. I hit back harder. Put together every document, every bogus violation, every lie into a half-hour video. HOA tyranny. How one woman abused power in plain sight. Posted it everywhere. Within a week, 83,000 views. Local news picked it up, emails from other states. Turns out every town's got a Karen. Karen tried to fire back, claimed editing manipulation and vengeance, but no one cared. The neighborhood woke up. People called for the HOA to be dissolved, started petitions, demanded transparency. Karen's house got a for sale sign. Not long after, I got a call from the city clerk, sweet lady, voice like iced tea and steel. "We finished the audit. The HOA as well. It's a mess. Suspended operations until further notice." Meaning, no more violations, no more fees, no more Karen. Someone taped the suspension notice to her front door. For once, she stayed inside. Meanwhile, the neighborhood breathed. Lawn chairs came back. People waved. Facebook group turned into lost pet alerts, not threats. Even folks who once glared at me started coming around, inviting me to barbecues, asking for help with design questions or legal tips. Turns out surviving a war with the HOA makes you something of a folk hero. The old house, Howell's Place, now my home, got a second life. Steel beams, wide windows, open layout. I turned the back addition into a community workshop. Not fancy, just a place for neighbors to learn to build things. High school kids fixing park benches. A guy making a ramp for his mom. Folks sharing stories about their own HOA nightmares. I give what I can, advice, templates, sometimes just a little hope. And you know what? I learned something I didn't expect. That when you stand alone, really alone, against power that thinks it can steamroll you, you don't just save your own house. You save the space for everyone to breathe a little easier. Because unchecked power always rots. And it only takes one person to shine a flashlight in its eyes. Karen eventually moved out. No goodbye, no parade. Her house went to a young couple artists. They tore up the lawn, put in wildflowers. Karen would have needed smelling salts. One day, I got a note in my mailbox. "You won. I still think you were cruel, but maybe you were right." Signed, K. No joy in that, just quiet. Maybe that's how wars end. Not with winners, just survivors. So now, every time I see someone post, "Just go along, it's easier," I shake my head. Sometimes the only way to save a community is to stand completely alone until, suddenly, you're not. Let me leave you with this. When does fighting back become just as toxic as the thing you're fighting? What would you have done? Folded or gone a distance? Drop your story below. Tell me what justice looks like where you live. Because sometimes the only way to change the rules is to call out the ones who write them.